And today we will be discussing about nature man spirit complex, which is popularly called as NMSC. Nature man spirit complex, which is popularly called as NMSC. See, listen. Nature man spirit complex is very near to the tribe. What is this nature man spirit complex? A relationship between the man, the nature and the spirits is called as nature man spirit complex. Means here men means tribal men. The tribal man believes that the nature is Gosain, the nature is God. They will not differentiate between the nature and their spirits. Spirits means gods. They believe that the nature and the gods are one and the same, like snake worship or like worship of black bug or worship of trees, worship of plants, nature worship. They see their mother goddess, they see their gods in this nature. Who? The tribal communities. So in which context he gave this concept? In which context LP Vidyarthi had gave this context? What happened? In Rajmahal hills of today's Jharkhand, there is one particular tribal community called as Malar tribal community. This Malar tribal community, they were been living in the Rajmahal hills. They have a very good association with the Rajmahal hills. They had a very good association with Rajmahal hills. They believe that the Rajmahal hills is the abode of gods. Their gods are living here. They had an inherent relationship with the Rajmahal hills. So from centuries together, the Malar, who are also called as Saurya Paharians, they are living in this Rajmahal hills. Suddenly what happened? After independence, because of availability of abundant natural resources, the mainstream people started entering into the tribal belt, into Rajmahal hills. When they entered into the Rajmahal hills, obviously they will be displaced. They will be thrown out of their lands. For what? If they want to do mining, first they have to remove the people who are living on that land. So who are living on that land? The Malars. The other name of Malar is Saurya Paharians. But the Malar tribal community, they resisted. The Malar tribal community, they resisted. They stopped. They didn't entertain the mainstream people to displace them. They went on war with the mainstream people. So in this context, Government of India in 1960s ordered an anthropologist called as LP Vidyarthi. An anthropologist called as LP Vidyarthi to go and find. We are ready to give them compensation, we are ready to give them resettlement, we are ready to give them rehabilitation. Why? These Malar tribal people are so reluctant. Why? These Malar people are not leaving the Rajmahal hills. What might be the reason? Go and find it. So LP Vidyarthi went to the Rajmahal hills and stayed with them and did field work with them, and he made an ethnographic profile. Ethnographic profile means complete cultural or complete understanding of any community is called as ethnographic. So here the LP Vidyarthi had made an ethnographic profile on hill tribe of Malar. They made an ethnographic profile on hill tribe of Malar, and they understood. Who understood? LP Vidyarthi understood and submitted the report to the government that the Malar people believe that the Rajmahal hills is the abode of gods. They don't want to move from their abode of gods. They don't want to move from their Rajmahal hills. If you restrict them, they will be revolting more. So he recommended, LP Vidyarthi recommended the government to better you withdraw rather than asking them to withdraw. In this context, he gave the concept called as nature, man, spirit complex. The relationship between the nature. Who is the man? The tribal man. Who is the man? The tribal man. This tribal man believes that nature is the abode of gods. The nature itself is God. The nature itself is sacred groves. Sacred groves means area. In Avatar movie we will see, from the earth the people will come to take that tree, plants. What is that? Sacred groves. They worship it. So they believe that the Rajmahal hills is their sacred groves, and that nature is nothing but spirit. So there is an inherent relationship. There is an inherent relationship between the nature, man and spirit. This concept is explained by L.P. Vidyarthi in an ethnographic profile of hill tribe called as Malar, whereby a tribe, he understood tribe, that the tribes have an inherent relationship with nature, because of which we can tell that if nature need to be protected, or forest need to be protected, or environment need to be protected, it is a tribe who better conserve and protect the nature rather than a government official, rather than a forest officer. Why? Because forest officer have a alienation feeling with the forest, but the tribe will have a inclusive relation with the forest. Hence the concept took birth, which is called as nature, man, spirit. Now we will go into the content. This concept is given by L.P. Vidyarthi in which book? The Malar, an ethnographic profile of hill tribe in Bihar. Now it is Bihar. Earlier, now it is Jharkhand. Earlier Bihar. Bihar is divided into, in 1960, Jharkhand is part of Bihar. Now it is part of Jharkhand. 1964, somewhere around. Profile of hill tribe in the nature man spirit complex was originally conceived by L.P. Vidyarthi as a theoretical and a methodological method to describe the soul of culture of hill tribe of Bihar, the Malar. So, to understand the soul, to understand the life, to understand how the tribes are associated, how tribes have an inherent relationship with the nature. They believe that their souls, their ancestors' souls, they are roaming in the Rajmahal Hills. A theoretical understanding, a methodological understanding was given by L.P. Vidyarthi. Why? Why these people are resisting the developmental activities? We are telling we will give compensation, no, we are telling we will be giving resettlement, we are ready to give rehabilitation, we are ready to give compensation. What is the problem? We will give you housing board, we will construct a housing board for you. The government was ready to construct a housing board also in the mainstream India, but they resisted. Why? Because their soul is living in Rajmahal Hills. L.P. Vidyarthi explained the whole culture has been divided into three parts. One is nature, second is man, tribal man, and the third is spirit. So there is an interrelationship, there is an interdependent, there is an interwoven of these three concepts: tribal man, nature, and the spirits, gods, which in turn are closely interrelated, interdependent, interwoven, and interacting, so much so that the existence of one simply cannot be thought of in absence of another. So, if tribal man is not there, they cannot believe that the nature will be there. If nature is not there, they cannot believe that the man is there. If nature is absent, they will not believe that God is present. Means all are intertwined. So, there is a symbiotic relationship between the tribal man, nature, and spirits. That symbiotic relationship between these three are understood by L.P. Vidyarthi when he is doing ethnographic profile on Malar tribal community, when Malar tribal community are resisting the developmental activities in Rajmahal Hills. Later on, we have a lot of examples. This thing happened in 1960s. In 2000s, in Odisha, Dongria Kondh tribal population of Niyamgiri Hills of Odisha, whereby the biggest company, the steel company in the world, POSCO, South Korean company, they came up with 50,000 crore investment. Vedanta, in collaboration with Vedanta, London-based company, both came to establish mining companies in Niyamgiri Hills, where a tribal population called as Dongria Kondh was been living. The Dongria Kondh also revolted. The Dongria Kondh also was being told to given compensation, resettlement, rehabilitation. The Dongria Kondh people went up to Supreme Court with the help of NGOs. And the Supreme Court had stopped the land acquisition. Supreme Court had not allowed the construction of any mining company in Niyamgiri Hills. Why? Why? Because Niyamgiri Hills is abode of gods. Niyamgiri Hills is the sacred grooves of Dongria Kondh. So in that way, almost every tribal community have an inherent relationship with the nature. The nature itself is a spirit. They believe that if something happens to the nature, the gods will be impacted. When the gods are impacted, then the psychology, their emotions, everything will be impacted. Why? Because in nature, who is present? The gods are present. Each division among themselves comprises every aspect, every component of culture, and viewed as a whole, as a complex, gives the total and comprehensive picture of the culture. So hence, culture is nothing but, Malar culture is nothing but a understanding between the nature, understanding between the tribal man, and understanding between their gods. This interrelationship is nothing but culture of Malar man. Culture is nothing but combination of nature, man and spirit. That combination, that understanding of the combination is called as culture. Nature, man, spirit. Why this concept came into existence? We understood this concept when there is an intrusion from outside, intrusion from businessmen, intrusion from government officials. Where? Onto the tribal hamlets. Then the concept took birth, which is called as nature man, spirit complex. It was in the context of studying the resistance of Malars or Saurya Paharians to the developmental programs like construction of highways and mining projects in Rajmal Hill region. There is also a resistance movement against proposed rehabilitation measures. In explaining the concept, LP Vidyarthi provided the basic features of Malars in the ethnography. Why he went there? He went there, they are resisting the developmental activities. In this context, he gave the ethnographic profile of hill tribe Malar. So, what is the ethnographic profile? Number one, Malars are the forest dwelling tribes and they cultivate mahua. They cultivate mahua, sacred drink for men and women. Yes, sacred drink for men and women, egalitarian society. They cultivate mahua. So, that mahua they will consume as a sacred drink at the time of sacred things. When they do any religious work or they will be consuming it together. The mahua cultivation. Mahua cultivation, what happened according to the mainstream excise law? According to the mainstream, do you know? Ganjai. What is ganjai? Weeds. Is illegal or legal? Till what time? It was legal. Till 1964 it was legal. In USA, in Mexico, weeds are legal or illegal? You know, there was a conspiracy. Weeds were being legal till 1964 in India. What happened? The people stopped consuming alcohol. So, the business alcohol is very much legal. So, the government intentionally stopped the weed. Means what I want to tell you, why it was legal? Why? Because it was present in the tribal people. It was a process of their life. It is a process of being bang. Bang. At the time of Holi, they will be selling outside. It was legal. Consumption of bang. Till recently, it was very much legal. Means what I want to tell you here is that I am not telling you to consume weed. Means mahua cultivation. If they do this mahua cultivation, means if they do this weed cultivation, they will come under excise law. They come under excise law. They come under mainstream excise law. When they come under mainstream excise law, what will happen? The mahua cultivation will be stopped. So, they worried that there are reasons why they don't want to come into contact with mainstream, why they don't want to leave the Rajmal Hills, means they can silently, in a clandestine manner, they can do their cultural thing like cultivation of mahua. Why? Because this mahua cultivation will become illegal if they come under the ambit of mainstream. So, that is one fear which is there among the tribal population. Number two, they go for kallu cultivation. What is this kallu cultivation? Kallu cultivation means shifting cultivation. They follow shifting cultivation. According to the mainstream law, shifting cultivation is illegal. But they practice shifting cultivation. Why? Why? Because their earth is mother goddess for them. If they go for plough cultivation, compulsory, if I want to do agriculture, I have to plough it. When I go and if I do plough, after ploughing only, I have to put the seed. So, when I go for ploughing, Malar man believes that the earth is mother goddess. If I take the plough, it is nothing but I am scratching away the chest of the mother. So, they don't go for ploughing of the land. They will just sow the seeds. They just sow the seeds. If it becomes a crop, they will consume it. If not, they will leave it. Means what? They will not go for ploughing. So, what they have to do? One time they will do here agriculture, another time they will do here agriculture, another time they will do here agriculture, which is called as shifting cultivation. If they come under the ambit of mainstream, if they allow mainstream, yes, come and take the displacement, we are ready to stay in mainstream India. Whether kallu cultivation will be stopped or whether the kallu cultivation will be continued, stopped. They practiced kallu cultivation, which is called a shifting cultivation. Their religious belief guided the agriculture pattern, that is Mother Earth as Gosain, hence ploughing of earth is a. There is an inherent disbelief again. There is an inherent disbelief towards outsiders, mainly Santals. Very near to the Malar. Near the Malar tribal community, another tribal community is living. That tribal community name is called as Malar. They have an inherent disbelief towards the Santals. Malars very near to the Santals. So they believe that Santals are very much experts in black magic, witchcraft, sorcery. So they understand that if I come into contact with the mainstream, if I give my land, if I have a rehabilitation, then I will be in contact with whom? Santals. And the Santals are experts in what? Black magic. They will impact us. They will impact our women. They will impact our children. So we don't want to come into contact because of inherent disbelief towards outsiders. There is inherent disbelief towards outsiders like Santals, Birhurs and government officials also. Hence the economy is inward looking. That is one reason they will be inside only, they will not come out. Why? Because they have a disbelief towards Santals who are surrounded by them, disbelief towards Birhur, the disbelief towards forest officials also. Why? Because they believe that they will exploit them, they will exploit their women, they will exploit their children. So they don't want to come into contact with outside and they are inward looking. Their economy is also inward looking. Means they tell that we are happy with what we have, please you get out. Is Malar stand. Their social life depended on the forest with dependence on minor forest products, less amount of savings and distribution of resources due to reciprocity. Their life is more of give and take. Their life is more of give and take within the group. But if they come into contact with the mainstream, whether this reciprocity will come to an end and money will play a major role, this reciprocity will come to an end and the money will play a major role. But they didn't got habituated this monetary benefits. They didn't got habituated to this currency. So whether they are already habituated to what? Reciprocity, give and take. They are worried, if I come into contact with the mainstream, we are inward looking economy, we are reciprocity people, we don't know monetary benefits, we don't know currency, then how we have to survive in mainstream India? These are all the reasons which are telling that yes, our ethnographic profile itself is very much against the mainstream. In the concept of nature man spirit complex, LP Vidyarthi tried to bring out the interaction between the nature and the social institutions and the religious beliefs. He employed the methods like questionnaire, anthropological context. He employed the methods like questionnaire and structured interview, asked, directly interviewed them or gave them the questionnaire and got the answer. Through this questionnaire and through this structured interview, asking them questions, he got the data. What is the data? The ethnographic profile of. So what methods he adopted? Questionnaire and structured interview for data collection. Some of the reasons for resistance are, once migrated to other region, they cannot cultivate mahua because they come under excise laws and criminal laws. Mahua cultivation is illegal. Mahua cultivation is a criminal. It's a criminal offense. That is also one fear which is there among the Malar tribal population. They consider Rajmahal Hills as the abode of gods. They don't want to come out of the gods. Fear of new disease. Because of contact with outsiders like Santals, they believe that the sexually transmitted disease might impact them. Sexually transmitted diseases, STDs, fear of disturbance in social life, these all things are there. Why we want to resist them is because of these fears. We are resisting them. This is what the understanding of LP Vidyarthi with respect to, for example, Adilabad Kondh, they will not send their children to the schools because of fear of outsiders. They believe that my child, if he go to school, he will leave them and go and stay in the outside world, mainstream. Adilabad Kondhs have a fear to send their children to modern schools also. In the same way, they also have the fear. In the same way, the Malars also have the fear that if they come into contact with the mainstream, there might be new diseases, there might be STDs, their social life will be disturbed. These are all the factors which are inhibiting them from giving away the lands to the government. Fear of plainsmen, magical and religious practices which is practiced by some. These are the factors which made the Malar man to not to come into contact with the mainstream. And this another big reason is the Rajmahal Hills is the abode of gods. They have Mahua cultivation, they have Kallu cultivation, they have the fear of witchcraft with outsiders. They follow shifting cultivation. Because of all these reasons, they don't want to come in contact with the mainstream. The perspective given by LP Vidyarthi makes us to understand that there is an inherent relationship between nature, the people and the gods. It may be because of love towards their land or because of fear towards outsiders. Nevertheless, the relationship of NMS, nature, man, spirit, cannot be overlooked because in a way it is protecting the environment. Whatever it may be the consequence, whether they are giving the land or not, whether they are displaced or not. But one thing positive is coming out from the concept of nature, man, spirit complex, which is nothing but environmental protection is happening. That is the reason in 2006 Forest Rights Act, the government of India strongly believed that rather than giving the rights to a forest officer to protect the forest, it's better to give the rights of forest to tribals. That is the reason they gave the rights of the forest to the tribals. Why? Because his livelihood is there in the forest. If you go for deforestation, his livelihood only will be impacted. LP Vidyarthi discovered that every moment of the Malar life was profoundly influenced by nature on the one hand and spirit on the other. These two ingredients of the complex play a paramount role in the life cycle of Malar. God, nature, Malar, man. So gods are nothing but nature and these are interrelated with man. Hence this is a profound relationship which is existing in Malar tribal population. See here. Nature. They have Mahua cultivation. They have Kallu cultivation. Mahua and Kallu in their nature. Gosines, totems, symbols of worship, spirits, man, social system, it is part of social system, there is a kinship, there is a family system. They believe that if the mainstream people come into contact here, they will disturb our social institutions. So they want to be in this particular bond only, which is NMSC. Expected interview question also, most expected interview question.